Today is World Book Day, guys, and as always, I like to read a story. I love my myths, legends, folk tales, and so forth. So today's story is from the Anthology of English Folk Tales. It's a Cornish story called Tom the Tinner. This version has been written by Mike O'Connor. It seems records of this story go back, written records of this story go back as far as 1667, but it'll be much, much older than that. It's part of that kind of Cornish storytelling tradition. It's not too long, and like every good story, there's a little bit of a twist at the end. So let's have a listen to the tale of Tom the Tinner. Tom Tressida the Tinner lived at Chienhorth, the house of the Ram, near St. Leven. Now Tom was a tin streamer, for in those days you could still sluice the black tin sand from the stream beds. But eventually all the tin had gone. Tom and his family fell on hard times. Tom had his wife to support and his daughter, 16 years old she was, and the very image of her mother. So reluctantly, Tom said fond farewell to them both and set out to find work. He had heard there was work to be had over in the east, so he walked for a day and he walked for another day. And close to sunset, he reached a farm near Praise and Beeble. There, the farmer and his wife were kindly people, so Tom asked to be taken on as a farmhand. He agreed to work for a year for 2 gold pieces. For a year he worked hard and he worked well. After 12 months, the farmer said to him, "Here's your pay. But it's been a hard year. If you give it back to me, I will give you something worth more than silver and gold." Tom thought, if it's worth more than silver and gold, I'd best be having it, Tom thought. So Tom agreed, but what the farmer gave him was a piece of advice. A point of wisdom, he called it. And the advice he got was this: never lodge in a house where an old man is married to a young wife. Then Tom thought, I still have nothing to take back to my wife and daughter. So he agreed to work for another year for 2 more gold pieces. After 12 months, the farmer said, "Here's your pay, but it's been a hard year. If you give it back, I'll give you something worth more than strength." Tom thought, if it's really worth more than strength, then I'd best be having it. So Tom agreed again, but again, what the farmer gave him was a point of wisdom. And the advice he got was this: never forsake the old road for the new. Then Tom thought, I still have nothing to take back to my wife and daughter. So he agreed to work for yet another year for 2 more gold pieces. For that year he worked hard and he worked well. After 12 months, the farmer said, you can guess this, can't you? "Here's your pay, but it's been a hard year. If you give it back, I'll give you something worth more than gold and silver and strength." So once again Tom agreed. But once again, what St. Leven the farmer gave him was a piece of advice. The farmer said it was the best point of wisdom of all. And the advice he gave Tom was this: never swear to anything seen through glass. Then Tom decided that although he had nothing to show for 3 years' work, he would return to his wife and daughter. The farmer's wife gave him a fine slab of heavy cake to take with him. On the road, Tom soon met fellow travellers. They were merchants, and they drove a pack of horses laden with wool from Helston Fair. They were going to Treen, not far from where Tom lived, so he was delighted to have some company on the road. That night they reached an inn. As the door opened, Tom saw the landlord was an old man, but the landlady was a young woman. He remembered the first advice: never lodge in a house where an old man is married to a young wife. So he asked to sleep in the stable. That night, as he lay there, he heard voices. Looking up through the knothole, he saw the young landlady talking to a monk, discussing how they'd murdered the old landlord. But the monk stood close to the knothole, and Tom was able to secretly cut a fabric fragment from the monk's gown with his penknife. Next day, Tom woke to find gallows outside, for his friends the merchants had already been found guilty of the landlord's murder. But Tom produced the fragment of cloth and told what he'd heard. So the merchants were set free again, and they set off on the road, with many promises of rewards to Tom when the trading was over. After a while they came to a fork in the road where a new shortcut had been made. "Come with us on the new road," said the merchants. But Tom remembered the second piece of advice. Never forsake the old road for the new. So he alone took the old road. He'd only gone a few yards when he heard hue and cry from over the hill. He ran across and found his new friends were being attacked by robbers. "One and all," he cried, as he struck out with his walking stick and soon sent the robbers flying. Then the merchants continued in safety with many thanks and even more promises of reward. So after 2 days walking, Tom got home. Looking in the window, he thought he saw his wife kissing a young man. He tightened the grip on his stick and he was about to burst into the house when he remembered the third advice. Never swear to anything seen through glass. So he put his stick back in his belt and gently went inside to find it was his daughter, now a young woman, and still the very image of her mother, saying goodnight to her fiancé, Jan the cobbler. Of course, they were delighted all to be together again, but then Tom had to explain to his wife that for 3 years' work he had earned only cake and wisdom, to which his wife replied it seemed that he'd earned nothing but cake. She was so vexed that she picked up the cake and threw it at Tom with all her might. Tom ducked, obviously, and the cake, flying past, missed him and smashed against the wall. As it did so, it broke into many pieces. Out fell not 2, not 4 or 6, but 15 gold pieces, wrapped up in a piece of paper. On the paper was written, "The reward of an honest man." Hope you enjoyed that very, very old story, told to many generations of Cornish women and men. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great World Book Day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.